Morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, July 3rd, and this is the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area, and we'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here, December corn down 1.5 pennies at 4.19 3/4. November soybeans were up 5 1/4 at 11.18 1/4, and December Chicago wheat was down 3 1/4 at 6.01 1/2. This morning, we had an export sales announcement of 110,100 metric tons of soybeans to unknown destinations. The breakdown was 55,100 for 23 and 55,000 for 24. ADP private payrolls was also out this morning. Saw 150,000 jobs added in June in the private sector. That was below the estimates. They were looking for 160,000, and they had an upward revised estimate for May of 157,000. So a little disappointing there on the job side. Good morning, guys. Last day here before we break for the 4th of July holiday. We had some rains roll through the Midwest there yesterday afternoon and through the evening. Dustin, maybe a few thoughts to kick us off here this morning, and then we'll throw it around the room.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Yeah, so we still have a good growing forecast for the next couple of weeks. Which is, this is that time of year where market, deems if a crop is likely to have a good pollination window or not. I think that's largely what's happening with, some of the weakness that we're seeing in corn, not just from the report, which showed more corn acres and more corn stocks than expected, but ongoing forecast, which is still fairly favorable. Where beans still have a lot of year left to just make a crop and decide where that yield finally comes out at once we see August weather. I think a lot of the traders that we would follow and trust and kind of look up to early on in the business would always say they don't have don't have a real strong opinion about bean yield going into August 1st. And I think that's a wise thing to think about. With that said, I'm still looking at things like outside influence, such as, energy prices. Crude oil is still looking fairly strong at today's price. That's one maybe shining light where we still have, some strong underlying support. We're also seeing soybean oil lead the oil share in the crush higher. So crush margins have been improving. So that's another, maybe part of why that bean price has been coming back up a bit compared to corn. So those are the things on my radar. And then lastly, Brazilian real. Brazilian real has been just completely blown up in the last couple of months, fallen to multi-year lows. And that's obviously a negative thing for us as they're priced locally in real. That gives them a bit of a competitive advantage where U.S. prices often soften because of that.
It's kind of surprising to see. Was it yesterday I heard Dustin, and correct me, I might be misreading this, but they're saying that they're undersold historically. Wouldn't that seems a little surprising to me given the strength that they've had in their currency to raise cash?
Yeah, no, that is a good question. I mean, I think I don't know how they track that exactly, if that's an opinion or fact, but certainly kind of feels that way, like that. They came in, they had a pretty dry second season corn crop. We're seeing a lightning fast harvest pace, which is usually indicative of a crop that dried out quickly. So that might have been some of the extra corn being dumped on the market recently. But, again, if their currency falls 5%, that's a 5% difference in price that which is fairly significant. That they have stabilized on price where our prices have fallen.
Sure. So. Ben, what's on your mind this morning?
Just watching how we kind of consolidate here after first notice day. We certainly have put a lot of bearish price pressure on these markets. To Dustin's point, nothing looks really threatening at this point. It is July 3rd. It looks like we're going to pollinate. At least, the first half of pollination should go really well. Don't see a catalyst other than sporadic short covering today. If we were to get that catalyst, we might get pretty aggressive quickly from these prices. But I still think that the on-farm stocks number becomes a dark cloud heading into the end of September, as most commercials will not let you roll from Sep to Dece. So I heard yesterday from a merchandiser that she was talking to some producers, and they think they're just going to hold their corn into fall. And I think this is a circular argument because the crop in the field has to go somewhere. There is for the most part, a finite amount of space in any particular region, whether it be commercial or on farm. So I think that this is, if you were to get, a 20, 25 cent bounce between now and the August report, I think that you have to be really be serious about how you want to handle any of that you may have left. Thankfully, we don't have very much of it with our customers, but I think that the calendar is against the farmer at this point, outside of some sort of seismic shift in weather to finish this crop.
And Jason, any kind of overriding thoughts you've got on the markets here this morning?
No, I kind of agree with everything else I'm saying, and Ben. Don't have much to add to that. Kind of Ben's last point, right? We're getting through this period of time where if your crop is looking really good, you get through pollination well, right? And Justin mentioned this, just a couple days ago or even yesterday, that things have changed, but you also know more as the grower, right? Like 2-3 weeks ago, we didn't really know anything besides we got it in the ground. Anything can happen. That's changed, right? You can really start to hone in your yield at this point in time for corn, at least, right? So there's something to be said there with price and yield, right? Yeah, price isn't where we want it, but that also is being offset by a higher yield expectation, and still quite a bit of revenue because of yield. And then so you really got to figure out what you want to do with that, right? Change your expectation, get your plan together, figure out how you can market your grain with what we got today, and really plan on the next, here, harvest, post-harvest, storage. All those things are really important, where you can either save pennies or add some value to your crop.
No, that's very good. And not much else to add there on the grain side here this morning, guys, outside of we'll have a normal close here today, and then markets will pause until Friday morning. We will see export sales also on Friday morning, in addition to for the 1 day delay there. Rye, I was reading this morning, it was kind of funny, made me laugh a little bit, that Chinese beef prices have been plummeting. So I got kind of a chuckle out of that, because they're getting a break.
They're getting the break. Yeah, not around here, that's for sure.
Not in our
all
neighborhood.
use a little bit of a break on the retail side here, but no, it's not happening. Beef's still marching higher here. We had a bit of a recovery in meat prices in general yesterday. Overall, cattle market staged a little bit of a reversal here from just the past 2 days. I think cash sentiment is still improving, alongside of the beef, and we know that we're at that time frame where we could see this thing seasonally top. But on the other hand, you look at futures patterns and something like August, which seasonally, the month of July is usually a pretty strong time for price. So overall, I think there's a lot more optimism just on the board. I think people have been looking at seasonality and just looking at the trajectory of how this thing has been trading recently, which is keeping the discount and then really start to narrow up after first notice day. And I think just people are starting to realize the patterns. So not to say that that's going to happen again, but I mean, there's all systems and kind of point to go here. So, we saw open interest up 3,400 contracts in the live side of things. Feeders were up 300. So I think we're seeing some new longs come in here, just trying to play some of that. It may be speculative. It may be more hedge kind of hedgers, but all things considered, I mean, I think people are really trying to get some of these higher price target orders working and filled here. above the market. So we'll see if there's any kind of, if we see any real follow through today. We kind of hope to see that, but cash has been pretty quiet, all things considered, on the cattle side of the market. But hogs, we did see a $2 rally in cash, and I think that just kind of got the got a little bit more active buying or short covering in the August. The funds are still short here, but it seems like we're just waiting for any kind of little seasonal bounce here. There really hasn't been much optimism here. The chart's been straight down. We're kind of hitting this lower end of the threshold here for price for the year. So there just isn't a lot of good news. But on the other hand, we are seeing weights start to drop. Barrow and gilt weights were down 2.7 pounds, so producers are current. So there could be a little bit of an uptick here in price if that trend seems to continue. So I think there's a lot to be optimistic about. But on the other hand, you know, these are really important markets just to stay protected. Just after we've just seen, you know, we've seen these big breaks in cattle, we've seen these big breaks in hogs. It just makes a lot of sense just to, you know, make sure you have a pretty sizable revenue floor just in case things really go south unexpectedly.
Well, very good. I appreciate the input there. One more thing before we wrap here this morning, I just wanted to give everybody the schedule. So again, it'll be a full close here today, 1:15 Central Time. Markets will pause, and we will reopen Friday morning at 8:30 Central. So War Room will be back on Friday. Jack will be hosting on Friday, and it will also be a Jack Fun Fact Friday. So all bets are off. I have no idea how this is going to shape up, but we're going to give him a shot there. So we're looking forward to that. Every day that the markets are open, we're streaming live on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, 8:15 Central Time. We hope everybody has a safe and happy 4th of July. Enjoy the time with those that you're with. And we look forward to talking to you. I'll talk to you next week. Jack will be back with you there on Friday. So everybody have a great day.
Thank you.